Nestor Lustraco plodded over the light snow dusting, half aware of his surroundings. He was too busy thinking over the past few months of his life to focus on anything else. He wasn't even really sure what direction he was going, only that he was moving away from the town of Waymart as fast as he could. They'd done fine after the power grid went down, after residents strung up the local government figures for getting all dictatorial, until the bicycle hordes from Scranton made an organized push to confiscate the supplies of everyone within 50 miles. There were a couple of skirmishes with Scranton's citizen deputies, and that's when Nestor realized it was time to bug out. A good thing he'd left, too, because he later heard that Scranton had simply rolled in with hundreds of people and took what they wanted, killing everyone who resisted, which had been just about everyone in Waymart. Nestor was thankful that he was free and alive, even if the rest of Waymart wasn't. Good enough for him, but sad. And since leaving 2 weeks and over 100 long miles ago, he'd been wandering southwest and dodging militias and invaders alike, surviving off what he could scrounge up. He'd left Waymart with a rifle, but ditched it when he ran out of bullets. It was heavy and useless at that point. He had since scrounged a pump-action pellet rifle along the way. The box had said 1,400 FPS, which he assumed was a lot, but it used .22 ammunition. Not bullets like he'd expected, but good-sized pellets that still weighed nearly nothing, and yet made short work of even some bigger things like raccoons. Maybe it would even work on people if needed, but he hadn't yet had to try that out. Nestor had more pressing matters, he realized. Flurries of snow had again begun to fall, but this time the wind had changed direction, and the air had that smell, that winter smell of a bad northern storm coming. It wasn't safe to forage and hunt during a storm, even if the animals wouldn't all be hiding. And then the fresh snow would leave a dead giveaway of his passing. No, he'd have to find shelter, and soon, or spend the next week either starving or risk going out and drawing attention to himself. A blur of movement caught his eye, and he whipped his head toward it, trying to identify the source. It took only a moment to realize it was a pack of dogs. Feral dogs, and they had surrounded some prey or another. At least he wasn't their prey. Damn, yet another danger to look for. He wondered what a pack of dogs was doing so far from any city. But of course it had been months since the power went out. Long enough for fleet-footed canines to get anywhere they damn well wanted to go. Nestor felt sorry for whatever critter they were about to eat, shaking his head in mute acceptance of the inevitability of what would happen over there, and turned to continue his journey to nowhere in particular. A small girl's shrill scream pierced the air, bouncing off the trees. That was no mere animal being hunted. Nestor froze, unsure what to do. His mind raced, trying to convince him he should leave well enough alone. It wasn't his problem. Then for a second he thought it could have been his own daughter out there, so much did it sound like her at the end, just before her final moments. But of course it couldn't be his princess. He shook away the grim memory. There was simply no way he could just walk away and let some child get eaten alive. No one deserved that. Death should come by accident, or peacefully in one's sleep, or even quickly at the intimate hands of one's own killer, not slowly at the fangs of man's best friend. He unslung his air rifle and pumped it 3 times in as many heartbeats, then scanned through the scope to find the girl in danger. Damn, there were 2 girls. The older one stood between 5 feral dogs and a younger girl curled up against a tree in fright. The brave one held a branch and used it as a spear against the dogs as they crept toward her. Nestor began to run toward them, keeping the air rifle up and aimed as he rapidly closed ground on the girls. Each of the girls' thrusts caused one dog to leap away, but then the other 4 would inch in closer. Rinse and repeat. They were gaining ground, albeit slowly. She could never keep that up long enough to save them, but thankfully those weren't wolves. If they'd been proper wolves, the feasting would have already begun. Nestor slowed to walking and squeezed the trigger. A puff of noise, and then the dog closest to the girl yelped and limped a few paces out of the girl's reach.
to keep listening to this audiobook. I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.